So continuing on with Chapter 3, on page 86, we're going to move on to computed fields. Similar to what you did in Chapter 2, you will see that you can include fields in queries that are not in the database, but whose values you can compute from existing fields. A field whose values that you derive from existing fields is called a computed or calculated field. And those can involve addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. So let's look at an example of that. In this example, we are asked to list the number, name, and available credit for all customers. So again, we're going to start with our select clause, and we were asked to list the number, name, and available credit for the customers. So I will type those fields in. So you can see here that I have typed in the fields customer number and customer name. Now I'm also asked for the available credit. Well, I'm pulling all of this information from the customer table, and you can see on the customer table that there is not a field that's named available balance. So that is going to be a computed field. And I can come up with what the available balance would be by subtracting the balance from the credit limit. So since I can think about that, I just need to enter that into a way that Access or our database can understand that. So I'm asking for the fields to be customer number, customer name, and then I'm taking the credit limit, which is one of the available fields, minus the balance. And this turns that into an expression, and I want that to show as available credit. And I do need to tell it which table that I'm pulling all of that information from, and it is pulling from the customer table. And in this example, I do not need the where clause. So now when I run this query, I have the customer number field, the customer name field, and that available credit field that I actually created by using the query. So computations are not limited to values and number fields like we saw in this example. We can also combine values in character fields as well. So let's look at an example where we do that. So I am just starting a new query, and I have to switch back over to SQL mode. And in this example, we're going to list the number, name, and available credit for all customers with credit limits that exceed their balances. So the only difference between this example and the last one is that in this example we are including a condition. So I'm still selecting those same fields. That part's not going to change. So I have the select clause that includes the fields that I'm asking for, including that expression, credit limit minus balance. I have the from clause that includes the table that I'm pulling information from. But in this example, I do need to add the where clause, and I only want to include customers for credit limits that exceed their balance. So that would be where the credit limit is greater than or exceeds the balance. So you can see how that is displayed there. I also want to show you how you can use special operators such as like and in. In most cases, your conditions will involve exact matches, which is what we've looked at so far, but sometimes exact matches will not work. So for example, we might know only that the desired value contains a certain collection of characters, but not a whole name, or something like that. So in that case, we could use the like operator with a wildcard, as we've seen before. So let's look at a quick example of that in a new query. And for example, let's list the number, name, and complete address of every customer located on a street that contains the letters Oxford. So I'm going to start with the select and from clauses, just like we've been doing in all of our other examples. So I have begun typing in my where clause, and my example that we're trying to do right now asks me to list the number, name, and complete address of all the customers located on a street that contains the letters Oxford. So I'm going to, in my where clause, use the like operator. So I'm going to tell Access to display things where the street, because that's the field where Oxford would be, are like Oxford. And I am going to enclose this in single quotation marks. And I'm also going to use the wildcard symbol, which is my asterisk, both in front of, now I have to make sure to spell Oxford correctly, in front of and behind Oxford. And putting the wildcard in both cases ensures that if streets end with Oxford or begin with Oxford or have letters in front of or behind Oxford in their name, they will all be included in my query. And here is my one result, and you can see that street, I had to use that wildcard because Oxford is preceded by the numbers 372. So I didn't have to know the exact address, I just had to know that it was a street that contained Oxford. And you can do a couple more examples of using special operators like and in on pages 89 and the top of page 90.